I was standing beside my wife's casket when my son's hand gripped my shoulder and pushed me aside. Not gently, not apologetically. Just moved me out of the way like I was a piece of furniture blocking his path to the front row at Catherine's memorial service. I didn't cry. I couldn't. The shock of it was too raw. Catherine had been gone for only 3 days. 3 days since the cancer finally won. 3 days since I held her hand as she took her last breath in our bedroom. The same bedroom where we'd celebrated 40 years of marriage, raised our son, and built a life together in East Vancouver. And here was David, my only child, treating me like I was nobody at my own wife's funeral. Amanda, my daughter-in-law, stood beside him in a black designer dress that probably cost more than Catherine's entire wardrobe. She didn't even glance at me. Her eyes were scanning the crowd, calculating, always calculating. I'd seen that look before. It was the same look she had when she convinced David to quit his teaching job 5 years ago to join her real estate investment firm. The service was beautiful. Catherine would have loved it. The flowers, the music, the stories people shared about her volunteer work at the community center. But I barely heard any of it. I kept thinking about the way David had pushed me aside. Like I didn't matter. Like I wasn't Catherine's husband of 40 years. Like I wasn't his father. After the service, people came up to offer condolences. They hugged me, told me how sorry they were, shared memories of Catherine. David and Amanda stood on the other side of the room, talking to people in hushed tones. Every so often, Amanda would glance at me with that same calculating look. When the last guest left, David finally approached me. "Dad, we need to talk about the house." Not "how are you holding up, Dad?" Not "I'm sorry for pushing you earlier." Just straight to business about the house. "Can this wait, son? Your mother's been gone 3 days." "No, actually, it can't." Amanda appeared beside him, phone in hand. "Robert, we've been reviewing the property records. This house is jointly owned, which means David inherits Catherine's half. We need to discuss arrangements." Arrangements. That's what she called it. My wife was barely in the ground, and they were talking about arrangements. "What kind of arrangements?" I asked, though part of me already knew. David looked uncomfortable. Good. He should be. "Dad, Amanda and I have been talking. This house is worth about $1.2 million in the current market. It's sitting on a prime lot in East Van. We're going to need to sell it to help fund the expansion of Amanda's company." "Sell it? This is my home, David. Your mother and I built this house. You grew up here. Mom's half is technically mine now," David said, not meeting my eyes. "And Amanda's right. We can't let this kind of equity just sit here while you just live here." "While I what? While I grieve? While I try to figure out how to live without your mother?" Amanda stepped forward. "Robert, let's be realistic. You're 62 years old. You retired from the construction business 3 years ago. You're living on pension and some savings. This house is too big for one person. And frankly, you can't afford the property taxes and maintenance on your income. I've been paying those taxes for 35 years. With Catherine's income as a nurse," Amanda shot back. "That income is gone now. You need to face facts. The smart move is to sell, split the proceeds, and you can get a nice apartment somewhere. Maybe in Surrey or Burnaby. Somewhere more affordable. Surrey or Burnaby." She wanted to ship me out of Vancouver, away from my neighborhood, my friends, my memories of Catherine. "I'm not selling my home." "You don't have a choice," Amanda said, her voice cold. "David owns half. We can force a partition sale if we need to." David finally looked at me. "Dad, please, don't make this harder than it has to be. Mom wouldn't want us fighting." That's when something broke inside me. Catherine wouldn't want us fighting? Catherine would be horrified at what her son was doing, but I was too tired, too grief-stricken to argue. "Get out," I said quietly. "Dad, get out of my house, both of you." They left, but not before Amanda said, "You'll be hearing from our lawyer." That night, I sat in the living room that Catherine and I had painted together 15 years ago. The walls were still the soft blue she'd chosen. Ocean mist, she'd called it. I could still see the spot where she'd gotten paint in her hair, and we'd laughed until we cried. The next morning, David and Amanda showed up with a moving truck and 2 men I didn't recognize. "What is this?" I asked, standing in my doorway. "We're taking Mom's things," David said. "Her furniture, her jewelry, her collections. It all belongs to me now, as her heir. You can't just come in here and take. Yes, we can, Amanda interrupted, pushing past me. Everything Catherine owned is now David's property. You don't get to decide what stays and what goes. I watched, helpless, as they stripped my home. Catherine's grandmother's china cabinet, the antique dresser she'd restored herself, her jewelry box, including her mother's engagement ring, the painting we'd bought on our honeymoon in Tofino, the bookshelf she'd spent years collecting first editions for. Please, I said to David as he carried out a box of Catherine's books. Not her books. You know how much she loved them. I'll take good care of them, Dad. But I knew he wouldn't. Amanda would sell them. She saw everything as inventory, as assets to be liquidated. When they left, the house felt hollow, empty, like Catherine had died all over again. A week later, I received a certified letter. It was from Amanda's real estate company, informing me that they were listing the house for sale immediately. As majority owners, David's inherited half, plus Amanda's claim that their marriage gave her joint control. They had the right to force the sale. I called David. Son, please, don't do this. I'm sorry, Dad, but Amanda's right. This is a smart business decision. This isn't business, David. This is family. This is your mother's memory. I have to go, Dad. I'll talk to you later. He didn't call back. The realtor showed up the next day with a photographer. They wanted to stage the house, she said. Make it market ready. That meant removing my furniture, my photos of Catherine, everything that made it home. They wanted me to move to a hotel while they did showings. I'm not leaving, I told the realtor. She looked uncomfortable. Mr. Chen, I understand this is difficult, but the property owners have requested. I am a property owner. I own half this house. Yes, but you're... Look, it would be easier if you just cooperated. I didn't cooperate. I stayed in my house while strangers trooped through on showings. Amanda complained to anyone who would listen that I was sabotaging the sale by being present, by making potential buyers uncomfortable. Good. I wanted them uncomfortable. This was my home, and I wasn't going to let them steal it without a fight. But I was running out of options. My savings were limited. I'd spent most of our money on Catherine's medical treatments the last 2 years, treatments that weren't covered by provincial health care. I couldn't afford a lawyer to fight David's claim. Then, 3 weeks after Catherine's memorial, I received a call from a lawyer I didn't know. Mr. Chen, this is Jennifer Huang from Huang & Associates. I'm calling regarding your late wife's estate. Her estate? David's already taken everything. Not quite everything. Could you come to my office tomorrow at 2 p.m.? There's a matter that requires your attention. I almost didn't go. What was the point? But Catherine had always taught me to see things through. So the next day, I took the bus to downtown Vancouver and found myself in a glass tower with a view of the harbor. Jennifer Huang was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with sharp eyes and a kind smile. Mr. Chen, thank you for coming. I apologize for the short notice, but I've been trying to reach you. Your wife Catherine was my client. Your client? I never heard her mention you. She came to me about 8 months ago. She wanted to set up a trust. She was quite specific about her instructions. Jennifer opened a folder on her desk. Your wife knew she was dying, Mr. Chen, and she knew what would happen after she was gone. My heart started pounding. What do you mean? She came to me, concerned about your son's marriage. She said Amanda was, and I'm quoting here, poison wrapped in Prada. Catherine was worried that after her death, David would be influenced to abandon you. She knew? She saw it coming. The pushing aside at the funeral, the immediate moves to sell the house, taking her belongings, she predicted all of it. I felt tears on my face. Catherine had known. Even dying, she'd been trying to protect me. What did she do? Jennifer smiled. Something brilliant. Your wife was quite clever, Mr. Chen. She didn't just write a will. She created a conditional trust with very specific terms. She pushed a document across the desk. This is a copy. The original was filed with the court last week, but let me explain in simple terms what Catherine arranged. I tried to read the document, but the legal language was too dense. Jennifer continued. First, you need to understand how Catherine structured her assets. 3 years ago, she transferred her half of the house into a life estate trust. Legally, she didn't own the house anymore, the trust did. But she retained the right to live there for her lifetime, and you retained your ownership of your half. I don't understand. What does that mean? It means when Catherine died, her ownership of the house didn't pass to David. The trust now owns that half, and the trust has very specific beneficiaries and conditions. What conditions? Jennifer leaned forward. The trust stipulates that David inherits Catherine's half of the house, plus a separate investment portfolio worth approximately $800,000, but only if he meets certain conditions within 6 months of her death. $800,000? I had no idea Catherine had that much money saved. She must have been investing her nursing income for decades. What conditions? I asked. 3 of them. First, David must allow you to remain living in the house, rent-free, for as long as you wish. Second, David must visit you at least twice a week and have a meaningful conversation lasting at least 1 hour. And I'll explain how that's verified in a moment. Third, David must publicly apologize to you, in writing and in person, for any mistreatment following Catherine's death. I stared at her. Catherine did all this? She did. She told me, I need to know if my son has a soul left, or if Amanda has taken that too. She wanted to test David's character, to see if he would choose relationship over money. What if he fails? If David fails to meet any of these conditions within 6 months, the entire estate, the house share, and the investment portfolio passes to you instead. David receives exactly $1,000. A symbolic amount, $1,000. The same amount from the original video's pattern. Catherine had set the same kind of test. And what happens to me in the meantime? You remain in the house. David has no legal right to force a sale or remove you. The trust documents trump any claims he or Amanda might make. I've already filed an injunction to stop their sale. The listing has been canceled as of this morning. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Catherine had saved me, even from beyond the grave. She was still protecting me. There's one more thing, Jennifer said. Catherine anticipated that Amanda might try to coach David through these conditions to fake compliance. So she built in a verification system. What kind of system? For the weekly visits, you keep a journal documenting each conversation. What you discussed, for how long, whether it felt genuine. At the end of 6 months, a court-appointed psychologist will interview you to assess whether David truly rebuilt a relationship with you, or whether he was just going through the motions. And if he was faking it, then he fails the condition. Intent matters. Catherine wanted genuine reconciliation, not performance art. I sat back in my chair, overwhelmed. My brilliant, loving wife had thought of everything. When does David find out about this? I sent a registered letter to both David and Amanda this morning. They should receive it by end of day. I expect you'll hear from them soon. I thanked Jennifer and took the bus home. For the first time since Catherine died, I felt something other than grief and anger. I felt hope, and I felt loved. Catherine hadn't abandoned me. She'd left me one final gift. David called that evening. His voice was shaking. Dad, what the hell is this? Some lawyer says Mom set up a trust? That I can't sell the house? That's right. This is insane. Mom left everything to me. I'm her heir. Read the documents, David. Your mother was very specific about her wishes. There was silence on the line. Then Amanda's voice in the background. Let me see that. This can't be legal. It's completely legal, I said. Your wife would know. She's in real estate law. More silence. Then David again. Dad, there are conditions. It says I have to visit you twice a week, among other things, for 6 months? That's right. And if I don't, I get nothing? Just $1,000? Catherine wanted to know if you'd choose your father or your inheritance. She wanted to give you a chance to be the son she raised, not the man you've become. I could hear Amanda shouting now in the background. Something about contesting the trust, about undue influence, about competency. Good luck with that, I said. Your mother was thoroughly evaluated by 2 separate doctors when she created this trust. She was completely of sound mind. This will stand up in any court. David's voice was quiet now. Dad, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything right now. But if you want your inheritance, you'll need to figure out how to be my son again. Starting with that apology your mother mentioned. I hung up. The next few days were chaos. Amanda hired a lawyer to contest the trust. They filed motions, demanded investigations, claimed Catherine had been coerced. Jennifer fought back with medical records, witness statements from Catherine's doctors, even video testimony that Catherine had recorded explaining her reasoning. In the video, which Jennifer showed me in her office, Catherine looked directly at the camera, thin and weak but with fire in her eyes. If you're watching this, it means I'm gone, and someone is contesting my trust. Probably Amanda. Let me be very clear. No one coerced me. No one influenced me. This is my decision, made of sound mind and clear purpose. I'm doing this because I love my son, and I'm praying he's strong enough to choose love over money. And I'm doing this because I love my husband, and I won't let him spend his final years homeless and abandoned. David, if you're watching this, your father is a good man, the best man I've ever known. Don't lose him for dollars and cents. You'll regret it for the rest of your life. I wept watching that video. Even dying, Catherine had been thinking of us. Amanda's lawsuit was thrown out within 2 weeks. The judge called it frivolous and an insult to the deceased's clearly expressed wishes. The 6-month clock was ticking. David had a choice to make. For the first week, nothing happened. Then, on day 8, David showed up at my door, alone. "Can I come in?" he asked. I let him in. We sat in the living room, the same room where he'd pushed me aside at Catherine's memorial. "I'm sorry," he said, "for everything. The funeral, taking Mom's things, trying to sell the house. Amanda said it was the smart move financially, but I should have said no. I should have protected you. Why didn't you?" David looked down at his hands. "Because it was easier not to. Easier to let Amanda make the decisions. Easier to think about money instead of dealing with the grief. Easier to treat you like a problem to solve instead of my father. Do you mean that? Or are you saying what you need to say to get the inheritance?" He looked up, and I saw tears in his eyes. "I don't know, Dad. I honestly don't know anymore. I'm so confused. I don't know who I am without Amanda telling me what to think." It was the most honest thing he'd said in years. "Your mother set up these conditions because she loved you," I said. "She wanted to give you a chance to find yourself again. To be the man you were before Amanda. What if that man is gone? Then you'll have to build a new one. But you'll have to want to. Not for the money, for yourself." David started coming twice a week, as the trust required. At first, our conversations were awkward, stilted. We talked about surface things, weather, hockey, news. He was checking boxes, I could tell. But slowly, something changed. Maybe around week 4 or 5, David started talking about his life. Really talking. He told me how Amanda controlled every aspect of their life. Their finances, their social calendar, their future plans. How she'd convinced him to quit teaching, something he'd loved, to join her company, where he felt like a fraud. How she belittled him in front of her business partners. How he'd lost contact with his old friends because Amanda said they were losers with no ambition. "I miss teaching," he said one evening. "I miss working with kids. I miss feeling like I was making a difference instead of just making money. Then go back to it. Amanda would never allow it." "David, you're 40 years old. You don't need permission to live your life." He looked at me like I'd said something profound, but it was just common sense. The kind of thing Catherine would have told him if she were still here. As the weeks passed, our conversations got deeper. We talked about Catherine, about his childhood, about the memories we shared. David helped me go through Catherine's things that Amanda hadn't taken. We found photo albums, letters, keepsakes. We laughed and cried together. One night, about 3 months into the 6-month period, David said, "I think I want a divorce." "Because of the inheritance?" "No, because I can't live like this anymore. These past few months, spending time with you, remembering who I used to be, I realize how miserable I've been, how small I've become. What will you do? I don't know, but whatever it is, it'll be my choice, not Amanda's." At the 4-month mark, David moved out of the house he shared with Amanda and into a small apartment in Kitsilano. He filed for separation. Amanda was furious. She called me, screaming about how I'd poisoned her husband against her, how the trust was a manipulation, how she'd make sure I never saw a penny of Catherine's money. I hung up on her. David started seeing a therapist. He was working through years of emotional abuse, he told me, learning to set boundaries, figuring out who he was separate from Amanda's influence. I'm thinking about going back to teaching, he said one evening. Maybe not full-time, maybe tutoring or supply work, just to see if I still have it. Your mother would be proud. Would she? After everything I did? David. She set up this whole trust because she believed you could change, because she hoped you would. Yes, she'd be proud. The 6 months came to an end on a rainy October day. Jennifer called both of us to her office for the final evaluation. The court-appointed psychologist was a kind woman named Dr. Sarah Patterson. She interviewed me for over an hour, asking about David's visits, our conversations, whether I felt he'd genuinely changed or was performing for the inheritance. I told her the truth. My son was lost. He'd become someone I didn't recognize. These past 6 months, I've watched him find himself again. Is he perfect? No. Does he still struggle? Yes. But he's trying. And more importantly, he's trying for himself, not just for the money. Dr. Patterson interviewed David separately, then submitted her report to Jennifer. A week later, we were back in Jennifer's office for the reading of the evaluation. Based on Dr. Patterson's assessment, as well as my review of Mr. Chen's journals and the evidence of David's behavioral changes, including his separation from his spouse and return to his former career, I'm satisfied that the conditions of the trust have been met. She looked at David. Congratulations. You're now the legal owner of your mother's half of the house and the beneficiary of her investment portfolio. David didn't react with joy or celebration. He just nodded quietly. Then Jennifer turned to me. Mr. Chen, there's one more thing. Catherine left a sealed letter for you, to be delivered only if David successfully met the conditions. She wanted you to read it if he succeeded. She handed me an envelope. I recognized Catherine's handwriting on the outside. For my beloved Robert. I waited until I got home to open it. David drove me, and we sat in the living room together as I unfolded the letter. My dearest Robert, if you're reading this, it means David passed the test. It means our son found his way back to being the man we raised. I can't tell you how happy that makes me. Even from wherever I am now, I know these past months have been hard on you. Losing me, dealing with David's betrayal, living with uncertainty. I'm sorry I couldn't just give you everything outright, but I needed to try to save our son. I needed to know if there was anything left of the David we loved, or if Amanda had destroyed him completely. The money doesn't matter, my love. The house doesn't matter. What matters is family. What matters is that David learned to value relationship over wealth, that he learned to be present, to listen, to care. I set up the trust as a test, but also as a gift. 6 months of mandatory connection. 6 months when David had to show up for you, even if at first it was just for the inheritance. Because I knew I hoped that if I could just get him in the door, you would remind him who he really is. You always were the better parent, Robert. More patient, more understanding. I was the disciplinarian, the one who pushed. But you were the one who listened, who accepted, who loved unconditionally. Use the money well, travel, fix up the house, donate to the charities we cared about, but most of all, enjoy the time you have with David. Really enjoy it. Don't let grief or anger rob you of that. I love you. I've loved you since the day we met at that construction site where I was treating an injured worker. I loved you through 40 years of marriage, and I'll love you wherever I am now. Take care of our son, and let him take care of you. Forever yours, Catherine. I couldn't read the last paragraph through my tears. David put his arm around my shoulders. What did she say? He asked. I handed him the letter. He read it, and when he looked up, he was crying too. I'm so sorry, Dad, for all of it. I know, son. I know. We sat there together in the living room, where Catherine had once painted ocean mist on the walls, where she'd gotten paint in her hair, where we'd laughed until we cried. And now David and I were crying together, but this time for healing instead of grief. The next week, David signed over the house completely to me. "I don't need it," he said. "This is your home, your memories. I'll be fine." He used part of the investment portfolio to go back to school for his teaching recertification. The rest he put into a trust for his future kids, if he had any. Amanda signed the divorce papers without contest. She'd already moved on to her next target, David told me. Some tech CEO she'd met at a networking event. David started teaching again. Grade 5 at an elementary school in Mount Pleasant. He came for dinner every Sunday, and we started a tradition of watching hockey games together on Wednesday nights. One Sunday, about a year after Catherine died, David brought someone with him, a woman named Rebecca, a fellow teacher. She was kind and funny and treated David like an equal. They were taking things slow, he told me later. He was learning how to be in a healthy relationship. "Do you think Mom would like her?" he asked. "Your mother would love anyone who makes you happy and treats you well. And yes, I think she'd like Rebecca very much." I sold Catherine's investment portfolio eventually, keeping enough to live comfortably and donating a significant portion to the community center where she'd volunteered. They named a program after her, the Catherine Chen Memorial Arts Initiative for Seniors. David helped me renovate the house. We repainted the living room, ocean mist, of course. We built raised garden beds in the backyard, where Catherine had always wanted them. We hung her photos throughout the house, not hidden away, but celebrated. Every year on the anniversary of Catherine's death, David and I visit her grave together. We tell her about our year, our lives, our joys and sorrows. We thank her for the gift she gave us, not the money, but the chance to rebuild what had been broken. People sometimes ask me if I'm angry that Catherine tested David instead of just leaving him the money. If I resent that she made me live through 6 months of uncertainty, I'm not angry. Because Catherine knew something I was too hurt to see. David wasn't evil. He was lost. He'd been manipulated and controlled until he didn't recognize himself anymore. He needed a way back, and the trust gave him that path. The money was never the point. The house was never the point. The point was love. The point was family. The point was proving that some things, dignity, respect, genuine connection, are worth more than any dollar amount. Catherine's gift wasn't the inheritance. It was the test itself. Because the test required David to show up, to be present, to remember how to be a son. And in passing that test, David didn't just win an inheritance. He won himself back. I still miss Catherine every day. I miss her laugh, her wisdom, her paint-stained fingers, and her terrible singing voice. But I'm not alone. I have my son back, the real David, not Amanda's puppet. And I have the knowledge that Catherine's love didn't end with her death. She left me one final gift, proof that love, when it's strong enough and smart enough, can reach across the grave and change lives. That's worth more than $800,000. That's worth more than any house. That's priceless. And I think that's exactly what Catherine wanted me to learn.